Let's talk a few minutes about health insurance. I know that this is a particular issue that you've been interested in, and I guess it's fair to say that of all issues on our plate, one of the ones that is of most concern to families is the ability to purchase health insurance at a reasonable cost to take care of themselves and their family needs. And I know that there are 2 or 3 things that you've done actively in this area. Maybe you can tell us about them.
Well, Dave, you know, it's this one issue that actually motivated me to run for office in the first place. I realized as a small business person that the choices and the availability of health insurance coverage for me and my family were very, very limited in the state of Maine. And this was some years ago. And being in the financial services business, I saw reforms going on in other states that really opened up more choices and better products, insurance products, for families living in those states. And in talking to folks, this is not a problem unique to me and my family. This is a problem that pervades the state of Maine. And we have many, many people who are self-employed, don't have access to a group insurance product where risk is spread out over many, many people. And the fishermen, farmers, real estate agents, shopkeepers, numerous small business people fall into this category. And because of the way our regulatory system works, essentially forcing insurers to issue policies to all comers at the same price, which sounds like a nice thing to do, effectively, economically, what that's done is driven insurance companies out of the state. And for the big insurance company that's left in the state, Anthem, they've just raised premiums and cut benefits and cut benefits and raised premiums and cut benefits to the point where most people, if they have insurance, have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 deductible policies in order to be able to. Which is worthless
under most conditions.
Absolutely right.
Well, one of the things that has struck me is the comparison between Maine and our neighboring state of New Hampshire. On one side of the Piscataqua River Bridge, you might pay $1,700 or $1,800 a year for your family insurance policy. And on the other side of the bridge, which you can see from Maine, the same policy, same coverage, same family might be $800. So what happens across a stretch of water a few thousand feet wide? And it's the difference in the mandates and the structure of the insurance laws and certain requirements and restrictions that exist in Maine that have driven business and rates out.
Well, interestingly enough, Dave, 10 years ago, the policies issued on each side of that strip of water were essentially identical.
Yeah.
And when it became evident that there was a problem developing in the individual market of adverse selection, meaning that, again, the pool of insured is getting smaller and less healthy, the state of New Hampshire, which had a Democratic governor at the time and a Republican legislature, got together in a bipartisan manner, and they passed a bill to create a reinsurance pool, essentially a way to guarantee insurance to all comers without affecting the premiums of everybody else in the market. And this is a very successful piece of legislation. Right now, the budget for running this program costs less than $100,000 per year. The director of the program does it on a volunteer basis. He's a retired insurance industry executive. And policies for individuals in New Hampshire are about half the prices they are in Maine, and they're widely available among a wide selection. And even those who have to go into the reinsurance pool get better products, better selection, and lower prices than are available in Maine. And
the extraordinary cost of that pool doesn't drive up the cost of everyone else in the state.
Not at all, because it is actually funded by a trust fund that's funded by the insurance companies themselves, because they know they have an interest in having better policies with lower premiums, because, hey, guess what? More people are going to buy their insurance if their insurance is a better deal to folks out there. So the insurance companies have a self-interest in funding this trust fund, and it's been so successful over there that they haven't even had to assess the insurers for the last 3 years to fund this program.
One of the things that's always struck me as strange is that we haven't had the right to buy our health insurance from anyone outside of the state of Maine. Now, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, exactly. I mean, if we were to open this up, there are some powerful interests that know that would collapse the insurance system in the state of Maine. And maybe that's what we need to do, because frankly, it's unacceptable to me to force people to buy these inadequate policies at very high prices. I think by opening it up and letting people buy insurance out of state, that's going to force reform here in Maine. And in fact, we're already starting to see some movement on this issue. When I was in the 122nd legislature, this was a highly partisan issue. And Republicans knew that they had an issue to run with and used it on that basis. Democrats who are in charge were very, very defensive and ignored all of the good arguments that were offered. It was a very partisan issue, and even so, a bill did pass the House, but it was killed by a parliamentary maneuver in the Senate. In this legislature, it has become much less partisan, and there are leaders on both sides of the aisle that realize that this reform has to happen, but it's still gotten embroiled in the politics of Dirigo. And clearly, Dirigo now is the main impediment, the main block to getting some decent reform. And Dirigo itself, therefore, needs to be reformed. It is a very top-heavy, bureaucratic program that does offer some assistance to some folks who are in the program now, but it's closed to new enrollees. The number of enrollees has dwindled, and the program is spending $57 million a year in order to support essentially a top-heavy bureaucracy that is not doing what it was charged with doing. Well,
and not only that, I think they had originally hoped to insure as many as 30,000 people, as I remember correctly.
130,000.
Yeah. And it hasn't come even close to that level of participation. So, well, it's never really made any sense to me that insurance, of all things, has to be a political issue. I mean, it would seem to me that all citizens have an equal interest in getting this right. And we should follow the lead of New Hampshire, as you mentioned, and find a nonpartisan, bipartisan, pragmatic way to fix this before we go any further.
Well, it's not just New Hampshire, Dave. You know, these reinsurance and risk pools exist in 48 states.
Yeah, exactly.
Maine and New Jersey are the only ones that haven't seen the light.
And in a lot of places around the country, I'm not sure New Jersey is the one I would emulate, but in any